Just in time for James Bond's 63rd anniversary on film. With the 1962 release of Dr. No comes his latest adventure exclusively on Amazon Prime, The Man Without a Gun, golden or otherwise. Good title. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, and really everybody, I mean, this is an old franchise. When you think of James Bond, you think of the gadgets. You think of the martinis, the world's most beautiful women, of course, and you think of his gun, the famous Walther PPK. That's right. Sexy little pistol. It's all now gone from Amazon Prime's cover art. I don't know if you know this, but when Amazon bought... Did you see it? Yeah. When Amazon bought MGM a couple of years ago, all 25 official Bond movies, I think it's 25, that was part of the deal. And they're now streaming on Amazon Prime, of course. And those Prime posters, I don't know if you've seen this. It's just sad. I've got this. You can take a look at some of the worst examples here. I don't know how many of those classic posters, probably all of them, have Bond holding that Walther.
Oh, yeah.
But Amazon Prime's key art has photoshopped or cropped all of them out. And these posters, they just look weird. You know how you can tell when something's been too smoothed out and Photoshopped? And the worst might be what they did to Roger Moore in A View to a Kill, which is a terrible movie, by the way. It's probably one of the 2 or 3 worst Bond flicks. But on this Prime poster, Moore looks like a confused old college professor huddled up in his cardigan. It's the weirdest looking thing. So, Bill, everybody's been talking about this for the last few days. Is this just another example of, corporate image sanitizing? Or do you think there's something deeper going on about how woke culture, woke culture treats masculinity, danger, heroism? I mean, look at what they did to Luke, Han, and Indiana Jones in the last few years.
Yes. The answer is yes. This James Bond, like Star Wars and Star Trek and so on, is not just a series of movies. It's not even just a franchise. It's part of our cultural mythology and fabric. James Bond is built into the culture. And James Bond is licensed to kill. In fact, there's a great deal in common between James Bond and Batman because they're both kind of psychopaths. James Bond...
They have issues.
James Bond is a psychopath. If you look at him, I'm pretty sure it was Dr. No. In fact, I'm virtually positive it was Dr. No. That he just sits down and he's got an enemy agent there and he just plain shoots him dead. And that's who James Bond is. He's licensed to kill. And that's the appeal of James Bond. That's what makes James Bond so overall attractive. It's attractive
it's
to
the
men.
Fantasy.
It's attractive to men because we would all like to be able to act out that way when we're confronted with evil and not have to pay any consequences for it. And the women seem to like it a bit too. So, yes, let's definitely hand the franchise over to a bunch of pink-haired 20-year-olds or whoever who are going to Photoshop the guns out because, look, when you get right down to it, Steve, what's the point of Photoshopping out the guns if you buy the James Bond franchise? I mean, why not cut out all the movie scenes that have him using a gun in it? Why are you doing this? It's insane. It will absolutely impact their audience watch. I should just confess this really. We did when I lost a chance to go to the Air Force Academy. We went out and started making movies. And we made a bunch of James Bond parodies, and I took it real seriously for a while there. I'd read all the novels, and then I read something called The Book of Bond, and it showed you how to do all kinds of cool things in the real world. Like if you had I don't know, $40 or something, you'd go out and you'd get like 39 ones, and then you put a 20 on the outside of the roll, and then just kind of have that handy. It's this big wad of things, and told you how to like put a hair on the door of your hotel to see if somebody had snuck into your room. Yeah, it is an unencumbered application of violence in the service of Queen and country, right? James Bond is the Archangel Michael who comes down with a flaming sword and doesn't sit down and discuss policy with Satan. He goes out and fights evil. And a statement I made once, I just came off the tip of my tongue live at a speaking event once, and I've probably used it 200 times since then. But when talking about movie villains, I say, reason that nobody goes to woke movies is because nobody's going to pay to go see a movie where James Bond confronts the evil supervillain with a strongly worded letter from the United Nations and then drive off in a Prius at a reasonable speed. That's not what James Bond is. And it's yet another example of the absolute density of network executives who simply cannot understand that not only does this woke stuff not work now, it never worked. When they turned Luke Skywalker into Mary Sue Skywalker, people didn't go. People don't go to see demasculinized men in action movies. And I don't think they're ever going to wake up, because it's a much different and larger topic, because I think that this inbred progressivism is their personal identity. It's not just their politics, it's their identity. So no, you can't have guns on the cover of this. Remember when we did a trifecta on Apple removing the pistol emoji and replacing it with a water pistol?
Way back.
Was that 13 years ago or something? I'm sure murders are way down since then.
Oh, yeah.
For that reason.
And Bill, you made me think of this. I've been a huge James Bond fan probably since I saw an old Sean Connery movie on TV when I was 6 or 7 years old. So we're talking almost 50 years here. And I love Daniel Craig's movies, well, at least two of them, Casino Royale and Skyfall.
Skyfall, yeah, they're great.
Because for the first time, we'd never seen this before, was a Bond with consequences. He really got hurt. By the time Skyfall is around, they have to cheat to get him to pass his physical and his shooting skills test to get him back out in the field because they need him. And I thought that was fascinating, but I think maybe that's why the Craig series ended up failing at the end, because they had to give him the ultimate consequence. Spoiler alert, where he dies at the end of the last movie, and that just wasn't Bond anymore.
Yeah,
Bond doesn't die. Bond can't die. This is
you got to have the fantasy.
Remember
Doctor Who has
girls
been canceled.
and the
Doctor Who's been canceled, even though there's been 14 doctors or whatever. But Doctor Who ideally never died. He was just reincarnated.
Remember
James Bond
the
never
episode?
dies.
Remember the episode where they put down Lassie?
Wow, Scott went dark. I love it when you do that.
I remember the movie where they put down Old Yeller, and I'm still haven't recovered from that.
Yeah.
But there was no Old Yeller 2.
Well, that would be a zombie movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God, we're all getting dark now. Okay, so, Scott, here's a question. Who are these posters supposed to appeal to? It's an annoyance to Bond fans, and non-Bond fans weren't going to watch anyway. They're going to go, oh, he seems nicer now. Let's watch.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're trying to appeal to people who are, fashion mavens and like nice suits and hairstyles. I really don't know. I mean, my immediate thought wasn't there like a man with a golden gun? I like, how do you do this? I mean, this is Amazon doing this, you're saying?
Yeah.
So all I can wonder is what happens when Amazon buys Gunsmoke? And then you can't have the gun, and of course, smoke is no longer allowed. So, like, they're just going to have the show with no
asterisk.
Name. Yeah, the movie is still a violent movie, and Hollywood has expressed over and over again its failure to follow its values and stop making violent movies. In fact, they've been making more extremely violent movies as time goes on. So even though they mouth these platitudes about how society needs to be rid of guns and we shouldn't be promoting gun culture, I'm like, hey, Hollywood, you are gun culture. Like, you have been gun culture from the beginning. And so it's just absurdist, it's posing, it's this value signaling to try to make people believe that you believe something that you don't really believe.
Yeah, what's going to happen to Bond? Okay, so one of the reasons there isn't a new Bond movie in production, even though the last Daniel Craig movie, I think, came out, 4 or 5 years ago now. And there isn't even one in pre-production, and that's because of Barbara Broccoli. She's the daughter of Cubby Broccoli, who's the guy who first brought Bond to the big screen 63 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, she's just been a really fierce defender of her father's legacy, of Bond's legacy, and reportedly she does not like where Amazon was going, so she dug in her heels. She refused to approve anything. And and since she came on as a full producer 30 years ago, she's been responsible for making some pretty damn good Bond flicks. GoldenEye, The World Is Not Enough, Casino Royale, Skyfall. I mean, these are some of the 4 best Bond movies as far as I'm concerned. And there have been some stinkers, too. We won't speak of Die Another Day. But Barbara Broccoli always kept Bond. You knew what to expect, no matter what the quality of the movie turned out to be. Here's the thing. Amazon finally got rid of Barbara Broccoli. They dangled $1 billion in front of her. No kidding, $1 billion if she'd just go away and stop protecting her father's and Bond's legacy. And nobody says no to $1 billion. So we don't know what Amazon's going to do with a franchise, but there's this other report of at least one Amazon bigwig producer saying she doesn't like Bond. She doesn't understand Bond. She doesn't think Bond is a hero.
Let's put her in charge.
I don't know if she's still there or not, but Bill, yeah, I get that sick feeling in my gut. And as a lifelong Bond fan, ugh. Yeah, it feels like these demasculized posters are just the beginning of the indignities Bond is about to suffer. And couldn't they have let him go with some dignity? Couldn't they have cut him in half with a laser beam or put him in the Shark Tank?
That's
right. You know? Bond deserves a Bond ending, and instead I think he's just going to drown in a sea of female hormones.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond. I expect you to fade away.
So sad.
Slowly.
Well, that's your right angle on that. Brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.